Hello, it's Bethany, and on today's Spanish practice, we are going to be talking about the present tense AR verbs. So we're getting into conjugating. Yay! So if you haven't watched my How to Conjugate a Verb video, I would go back and watch that, and also go back and watch the pronoun video so that you have the knowledge of things beforehand that we need in order to conjugate a verb, which I will review here a little bit, but watch those other videos and then come back here to do the AR verb if you haven't already. So before we get started, I always like to say accents are like fingerprints and each person has a different one. So if you don't like the way I say things in Spanish, you could listen to my whole spiel about these verbs, and then you can go to a translator app and hear it for yourself to practice saying them. But again, even in your native language, everybody has an individual accent. So let's get into it. Verbs are action words, so that means that we are doing something. Now, in Spanish, there are three types of verbs. There's AR, ER, and IR. Obviously, today we are talking about the AR verb. These are the verb endings. But what is a conjugation? What do you mean we're going to conjugate a verb? A conjugation changes form so we know who we're talking about. And then a verb tense is when the verb happens. So we're doing it in the present tense today. As you can see here, there's a lot of different verb tenses in Spanish, but we're focusing today on the present tense. How to conjugate a verb, really quick overview. So, for example, escuchar means to listen. So you have the stem, escucha, escuch is the stem, and then the ending, ar, escuchar. Now, how do we conjugate the verb? We take the verb, we drop the ending, and then we add the correct verb tense ending for the correct pronoun. So you will become very familiar with the conjugation table. This is what it looks like. And you think, what information goes here? Lots of different information for lots of different reasons. Each of these boxes here stand for a different pronoun. So this is the time where it's like, oops, if you didn't watch the pronoun video, watch that, but I will review a little bit here. So each box stands for something. We have, as you see on the side of the screen, I in Spanish is yo. That is the first part. You in Spanish is tú. This is the tú box. El, ella, usted, formal you, go in this bottom box. We, nosotros, nosotras is in this top box. Y'all, or the second person plural, is vosotros, vosotras. And then ellos, ellas, ustedes is in this bottom box. So, as you can see, I'll just explain a little bit. First person singular, second person singular, third person plural, first person plural, second person plural, third person plural. Okay, so you have to remember that these are where these go, because now we can conjugate present tense verbs with the AR ending. So as you see, the yo, here you go, the meat and potatoes of this video. The yo ending is o. For AR verbs, we're taking the AR verbs. Yo, o. Tú is as. For él, ella, or usted, it's a. For nosotros, nosotras, it's amos. For vosotros, vosotras, it's ais. And ellos, ellas, ustedes is an. Now, what do these mean? That's why we had to watch that How to Conjugate a Verb video. We take these endings and we put them onto stems of the verb. So here are some common AR verbs in Spanish. Escuchar means to listen. Hablar means to talk. Ayudar means to help. Bailar means to dance. Comprar means to buy. Buscar means to look for. That's important that you have that preposition, because some verbs in Spanish include the preposition, so you're not saying a separate preposition for later. It's just included in the verb. Estudiar, to study. Mirar, to look at. trabajar, to work, viajar, to travel. So let's go through them one more time. Escuchar, hablar, ayudar, bailar, comprar, buscar, estudiar, mirar, trabajar, viajar. Okay, so let's get into it. We're going to do a few examples of just conjugating the verb. So the stem, we're going to do the present tense of escuchar. So if we were talking about the past tense, there's actually two in Spanish: the future tense, the conditional tense, the present progressive tense. Any other tense, these are all going to be different answers. So just for the present tense in Spanish, for the verb escuchar, we are going to use the stem escuch, because we take off the AR. So for yo, it's escucho, 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 escucho. Escuchas for tú, él escucha, ella escucha, usted escucha. Okay. Nosotros escuchamos, nosotros escuchamos. Vosotros escucháis, vosotros, vosotras escucháis. And then ellos escuchen, ellos escuchen, ustedes escuchen. So do you see, this is our first example here about how we have the stem, we add the endings, and they make the word. So here's the other thing before we go to the next example. You could say escucho to mean I listen, or you could say yo escucho, which means I listen. But since the verb is conjugated with the different endings to tell what it means, we know it's whatever ending you put is who it's referring to. So technically the pronoun here is optional to say, but it's not optional in the ending. Okay, so let's do hablar. Now we don't the H sound doesn't make a sound in Spanish, so it's hablar. So our stem is habl. Yo hablo, tú hablas, él habla, ella habla, usted habla. Nosotros hablamos, nosotras hablamos. Vosotros habláis, vosotros habláis. Ellos hablan, ellas hablan, ustedes hablan. So these were examples about how to do it. Now, we're going to do some practice at the end, but if you want to pause the video and go back and look at the different verbs we did and try to conjugate one on your own, you should do that, because in the next slide, I'm going to go through all the conjugations for these different verbs, but they're not individual, they're all on the screen. So it's not like what we just did. So, for example, ayudar. Who remembers what it means? It means to help. Ayudo, ayudas, ayuda, ayudamos, ayudáis, ayudan. Bailar means to dance. Bailó, bailas, baila, bailamos, bailáis, bailan. Buscar means to look for. Busco, buscas, busca, buscamos, buscáis, buscan. Estudiar means to study. Estudió, now you can say estudió means I study, and if you say estudió el español, it means I study Spanish. You just said your first Spanish sentence, which in this series, I guess, I know you've probably said many before, but you could just say estudio el español, I study Spanish. So let's start that one over. Estudiar is estudió, estudias, estudia, estudiamos, estudiáis, estudian. Comprar means to buy. Compró, compras, compra, compramos, compráis, compran. Mirar means to look at. Miró, miras, mira, miramos, miráis, miran. Trabajar means to work. Trabajo, trabajas, excuse me. Let's try this again. Trabajar means to work. Trabajo, trabajas, trabaja, trabajamos, trabajáis, trabajan. Viajar means to travel. viajo, viáis, viaja, vieja, excuse me. Viajamos, viajáis, viajan. And remember, the J makes the H sound. So viajo, viajáis, viaja, vieja, viajamos, viajáis, viajan. So let's practice. What is I travel in Spanish? And I put where you should be thinking about your verb conjugation here. I travel. Tres, dos, uno. Yo viajo or viejo. Yo viejo, viejo. Okay. The next one, she looks for. Now we're going to be down here. She looks for. So think of the verb look for, to look for. And the pronoun in which box. So ella busca, or you could simply say busca. If you know who you're talking about. El ella usted is a little bit different, right? Okay, we dance. Think of the pronoun, what ending you're adding, and the verb, right? It should really be pronoun, well, what verb, pronoun, and what ending. So, tres, dos, uno. Nosotros bailamos. Nosotras bailamos. Bailamos. Let's practice they study. ¿Cómo se dice? How do you say they study in español? Ellos estudian, ellas estudian, estudian. Now let's practice you help. You help. Think of what help is. Ayudar, right? And then tú. What do we conjugate ayudar for tú? Tú ayudas. Ayudas. He looks at. Mirar, right? Okay. Tres, dos, uno. El mirar. Mirar. So I work. I work. Tres, dos, uno. Yo trabajo. Trabajo. You buy. Let's think about it. Pause if you need to. Tres, dos, uno. Tú compras. Or simply compras. We talk. We talk. Nosotros hablamos. Nosotras hablamos. Or simply hablamos. Now I will show you one other thing right here, just about the endings. I want you to notice that in the AR endings, there is a little bit of a pattern. So let's see, here they all are. So O is for yo, and then you notice how they all have A's, right? So you're simply just adding S, you're adding nothing here, you're adding mos, is, and N, N-A, right? So you're just adding a few things to A or the O completely. Keep that in mind for the next video when we do ER and IR, present tense endings. And I will leave you with that these are regular present tense endings. For regular verbs, we'll get into the irregular present tense verbs. But for now, study those 10 Spanish words that for the AR ending. And thank you for watching. You could always visit and see my stuff at partsoflanguage.com for Spanish tutoring, more Spanish practice, lots of free resources, all linked below. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.